Hi everyone, I'm so excited to be a part of the Colourarte Autumn Splendor Fall Educational event, and I can't wait for you to see the many ways Colourarte products can be used, both in my video and in other affiliate videos. If you're new to my channel, my name is Annalisa and I am a Colourarte affiliate. During Colourarte's Autumn Splendor educational event, you have the opportunity to enter to win a $400 Colourarte Shopping Spree. To enter, you just need to watch all 16 affiliate videos, collect the secret word from each video, and then once you've gathered all of the words that make up the secret phrase, you go to Colourarte's website using the link in the description below to send in your entry. In addition to the grand prize, each of the 16 affiliate channels participating in this event will also have an individual drawing. To enter for the chance to win a channel prize, all you need to do is be a subscriber and leave a comment on the video. You have until October 28th at midnight to enter. Channel prizes will be announced on October 31st, 2022. I've included all the details for this giveaway in the description below. Feel free to review those as well as all the links for the other affiliate videos. I'll be sharing my secret word for the secret phrase later on in the video, so be sure to stay tuned. So, I'm pretty sure we all have that pile of canvases from when we first started pouring, and we've just continued to grow as artists, where while they're not the prettiest things in the world, because you're making better paintings now, they still mean a lot to you. Well, I've been staring at my collection of paintings that I didn't quite want to get rid of, but at the same time didn't want hanging on my wall for, I don't know, almost a year now. Couldn't figure out what to do with them. I've tried coming up with ideas, but I've just hit a complete and total mental block until I watched a video a few weeks back. It was by Tammy Anderson, and she had cut up she had cut up some canvases and some paint skins and made a really cool flower, and it got me to thinking how fun that would be if I turned all of my old canvases into this. So literally turning it into I don't really know what to call it. It's literally my history as a pouring artist. It's everything that has led up to what I am now as an artist. And I just kind of started going at this. And I just thought that what was the harm? I had these canvases sitting on my shelf, and yes, they meant a lot to me, but at the same time, they'd been sitting on my shelf for a ridiculously long amount of time. So I just kind of went at it and started just busting through the pile. And I actually had a lot of fun doing this. Like, these are paintings that they've been sitting on a shelf for a really long time. And it was nice getting to look at them and remember making them. And I was also really enjoying seeing all the colors together and just being able to play with them. It was a lot of fun. So I was kind of feeling like it would be a lot of fun to add some cool embellishments. So I headed to my art store to look for some different accents that I could add to my collage. And I stumbled across these leaves, and I thought that they would be a lot of fun to add to the collage because it would just be a really fun accent. The only thing about these petals was I really like shiny and shimmery things, and these petals just really weren't shiny or shimmery. If they were going to be on one of my paintings, on one of my projects, they had to shimmer. Because let's face it, I can't seem to do anything without some sort of iridescent shimmer on it. So I went through and I painted every single one of those leaves with iridescent. What I learned? Do not leave paper flowers sitting on a box for long when you paint them for longer than just a few seconds. Pull them up immediately. So I went through and I just added iridescent pigments to them, and I just kind of I was continuing to go with the flow. I still had no idea. So this is the canvas that I ended up with. I decided, since this was a painting that was going to be my history, and it was reusing stuff and, you know, making something old into something new, I decided what better way to do it than to cover up a pour that totally didn't turn out very well at all. So I had made ridges on this specifically because I was planning on doing dry brushing, like what I'm doing right here. And I started off using the diamond, and I really liked it, but it just didn't have the instant, or like the deep iridescent. So I moved over to straight up interference pigments, and it was really cool because I could still see the diamond, the violet and the blue diamond shining up from below, but this just really popped. And I just dry brushed them all on there. I didn't use anything special. I literally just took my paintbrush and put a little bit of it in and put it right on my canvas. You have to be extremely careful if you're going to dry brush though, because you don't want too much on your brush. You just want barely enough to do what you're trying to do. See, I love that. Like, that's my favorite part of this, of when I started this, was that I knew that I had succeeded with the background. And so if I succeeded with the background, I had to get the rest done perfect, right? Or not perfect, but I had to be, I had to be working on it. So normally when you're doing a collage, you try to think about spreading your colors around and what goes well together. I just so happen to have a lot of colors that were very similar, and so it was kind of interesting. I spent a lot of time trying to make sure that I didn't have too many petals that were the same right next to each other. So I just kept adjusting and readjusting until it fit where I thought that it felt right. And then I decided to add those leaves, and this was the paper that I had gotten at the art store, and I really liked it, and I thought that it would make a good center, and then I decided that it would actually make good petals. And you can't see it in this particular spot, but I had also added black shimmery petals as well. So I started out using PVA glue and quickly found out that was a really bad idea in general. Like, whatever you do, never use PVA glue on the back of any kind of canvas. Anyone want to guess why? I'll tell you. It's because it is water-based. And so it made all of my canvases kind of warp and look a little wavy, which ultimately worked because, let's face it, petals are kind of wavy in general. So it did kind of go okay, but it wasn't doing quite what I had wanted it to with laying down. So I decided to try the regular gel matte, and that definitely worked. I probably should have just done that from the get-go. I should have also done it with the paper stuff, because for some reason I had continued to use the PVA glue anytime I had paper, and that was a really silly idea, because it left an impression underneath. And yeah, so Anyway, next I had the bright idea that I was going to outline every single one of my petals with puff paint. And yes, ultimately it did work, outlining the edges of my petals with the puff paint. However, it just didn't seem to have the wow factor that I was going for. You know, it outlined them, it gave them some depth, but ultimately I was still trying to figure out what I was going to do after I finished outlining them. So I had the bright idea that I wanted to try to make my own, we're going to air quote this, puff paint. I had no idea if it was going to work or not, so I just started going at it. And so I wanted to wet my interference pigments, and so I used art fluid. And once I got them wet, then I took my soft gloss gel medium and I put it in, and I mixed those together. And then I decided to add some carbon black, and I actually ended up with like a really large surprise because I really didn't expect what I got. Originally, I was just thinking I was going to get like a shiny black, but it ended up turning purple and blue. And they even dried even cooler. So at the local art store, I had found these cute little bottles, and while it was a pain to try to get all of that into the bottles, it made it feel like I was using that puffy paint, and so I was pretty stoked. Even if it did take ridiculous amounts of time trying to get it to go in. I think if I were to try this part again, I might try to make it just a little tiny bit thinner. But the soft glass gel mixed with the art fluid definitely made it into a good consistency for squirting out, at least. So I had my two colors, and I just went at it outlining my flower. I just so happened to have family over that weekend, so I decided to sit in my living room and do it for a bit, and that was really tedious. The one thing I should have done was let my bottles sit for, 24 hours. That would have been the smart thing to do, right? But I didn't, and so I ended up with a lot of areas where there was like air bubbles, and that kind of left me needing to clean up some paint mess. So I grabbed a fine tip paintbrush, and that seemed to work way better than anything else I tried to use. I tried to use everything from tissue to my finger, and it just wasn't working. This paintbrush was definitely the best. I wasn't using it to actually brush on the stuff, I was using it to brush it off. Now for my secret word. The secret word is Vincent. This part actually ended up a lot more tedious than regular soft gloss, or than the puff paint. However, I really, really, really think the end result made it completely worth it. I probably should have made more than what I did, because I made it to the very end and barely had enough. It was like pulling teeth to make sure that I had just enough to finish this project, and I really thought that I was gonna be needing to make up some more, and I'm really shocked that it actually went all the way through to the end. It really did take quite a while to get this part of the project done. I do think that if I'd have made it a little bit thinner and waited the extra, left it sitting overnight, I think I probably would have saved myself quite a bit of trouble with needing to go back in with the brush later, because it definitely made it challenging. So, made it to the very end of all of that, and my stuff dried, and it looked super awesome. The purple interference with the black ended up turning out purple, and the interference blue with the black ended up turning out blue, and they were really awesome. So my white petals just looked a little too white and a little too bland, and they didn't shimmer or sparkle like I was hoping. And so I decided to go through and take my Prism Pour Violet Rose. It definitely ranks in like my top 5 favorite purples, actually maybe even my top 2, placed just right after Wild Orchid. The center, since I was going for the flower look, I decided to paint it with Prism Pour Mayan Gold. And then once it all dried, I realized my petals just weren't dark enough. Like, they weren't like the true color. So I decided to go in and give them a second coat. So for my center of my flower, I really felt like it needed to be, more sunflower center. So I took my art fluid and I put it in with my crushed glass, and I put in some of my interference gold, and I also put in some golden iridescent bright gold. I believe I said that correctly. So I had to do a lot of shaking on this, and the amount that I started with, it ended up being not enough, so I ended up adding more. The important thing to know is when you coat your glass, you need to either leave it in the container and stir it frequently, or lay it flat on a tray and kind of spread it out well, and then kind of mix it up occasionally while it dries. It turned out really awesome, and I really didn't know what to expect when I started this. This was my first time working with crushed glass, and the one thing I wish somebody had mentioned was how hard it is to kind of keep your finer crushed glass contained when you put resin on top of it. I probably would have taken a few more precautions. Out of curiosity, can somebody tell me, is it just the thin or like the fine crushed glass that kind of goes all over when you use it and add resin, or does thicker crushed glass maybe stay put a little bit better? I would love to know. So if you can let me know, that would be awesome for future reference. Anyway, I really, really, really love how this ultimately turned out. There was so much shimmer and shine with the light flashing over it. I just really, really enjoyed it. So I made it to the end of this project, and I ran out of time to record my remaining resin pours over it. After this resin coating, I poured another one on top, and it just made it even better. And I'm still actually going to need a third, but I ran out of time and wanted to make sure that I had this video ready to show you guys, because I really love how this turned out, and I wanted so much to show you guys all of the different techniques that I used when I was making it. So you can see my interference puff paints in the back, and you can see my shimmer in my leaves, and you can see the blue that comes out with when the light passes over the purple. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like. And if you are not already, please consider subscribing. Thank you. Have a great day.